But I think it starts recording now and starts broadcasting this. So
Oh,
there's
very cool. There's always a delay, right?
Yeah.
We have an excellent, I didn't have to click a button.
Oh,
Like it says we're live.
you sure? Up at
Yeah.
the top?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
It's a, yeah.
Well, take it away.
All right. Hello and welcome. So glad that you are with us here this afternoon for another riveting episode of the Homeschool Teachers Lounge, where the two people who are doing it have absolutely no idea if they're live or not.
Every week.
Every single week. Yes. It's just not that easy. My name is Pam Barnhill. I am a homeschool mom of 3 pretty awesome kids, or today they're pretty awesome anyway. And let's see, I have 2 homeschooling podcasts, the Your Morning Basket podcast, where we talk all about morning time, and 10 minutes to a better homeschool, little bite-sized pieces of homeschool help delivered right to your earbuds every single week. And yeah, you can find me at pambarnhill.com. And I'm joined by my good friend, Mystie Winkler.
Hello. Yes, I am Mystie Winkler and I write at simplyconvivial.com. And I also have 2 podcasts. The Simply Convivial podcast, all about homemaking and homeschooling cheerfully. And then also Simplified Organization, which is an interview podcast that's pretty new still, where we can just get a glimpse of how other normal moms are organizing and getting things done in their own lives. So that one's been a fun one to kick off. And I also have a new book, The Convivial Homeschool, Gospel Encouragement for Keeping Your Sanity While Living and Learning Alongside Your Kids. Although it's not such a new book. Now, Pam's the one with the brand new book.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Brand new. It's so new. It's like it just in pre-order. Yeah. So it's Gather, Exploring the Wonder, Wisdom, and Worship of Learning at Home. And I was sitting there listening to you say the title of your book, and I'm like, we have really got to start picking shorter subtitles. That's
the
too much
truth.
to remember. I gave Andrew Pudawa such a hard time about linguistic development through poetry memorization. Then I think, but anyway, yeah, so brand new book called Gather, and the most wonderful thing about this book is I am not the only author. Heather Tully from Heather Tully Photography is the photographer and the co-author of this book, and that's fabulous because she takes beautiful photographs. And so this book is absolutely chock full of beautiful photographs of homeschoolers homeschooling. Not always beautiful things. Like there's messy stuff in there, but yeah, so much fun for that one. So pambarnhill.com/gather to pre-order your copy.
Nice. So. Well, when you take an artistic photograph, or in my case they're not artistic, but still you take a photo even of those moments that feel less than perfect or that are messy, somehow it just shifts your view of it a little, and you realize oh, this is still valuable, this is actually worthwhile, even though it's messy, even though it's not going the way I wanted. This is a good part of our life.
Yeah. And they're interesting to look back on too, because I have some pictures. Actually, it's funny. It was last year. Dawn was writing a blog post on the website about kids getting up before you. And she's like, I just don't have any pictures. I said, oh, I can find some for you. And so I went through and I found a picture of Thomas. And I'm going to tell you, we did not buy Fruit Loops for our kids very often. But we must have, for whatever reason at that point, we had Fruit Loops in the house. So it's not something that was like a normal occurrence. But that kid, he was like 1. He had gotten up and poured himself some Fruit Loops. He was, okay, so he was 2. And they were all over the table. And so I just had to take a picture of the Fruit Loops everywhere and him sitting there with his chubby little hand eating the Fruit Loops. And I am sure that in the moment that he did that, it was not something that was making me happy, but now looking back on that picture, I'm like, I'm really glad I took the moment to kind of capture the mess and the frustration and the annoyance of that moment, because now I look back on it and I'm like, yeah, Fruit Loops.
What a cute little boy.
With a cute little boy, cute little chubby boy. Oh, so yeah, even the messes are good to remember, I think, the hard days. Um, yeah, I hate to be one of those moms that tells everybody, "Oh, you're gonna miss it," but you're gonna miss it.
Like, we have arrived at older mom status.
Yes, we have. Well, I have been at older mom status for a while now. It's just my kids are finally getting older. Oh, goodness. Okay, so how was your homeschool week? It sounds like you guys dealt with some stuff.
Yes. Well, speaking of being grateful for older kids, there are things that I do not miss. And I'm very grateful for older kids this week because last week we had a stomach bug go through the house. So, it's so much better when they can just make it to the bathroom even in the middle of the night.
Yes.
And I just stood there and like pat on the back, here's a towel, here's a like drink of water or Sprite or whatever, and
See, you're a much better
it.
mom than I am because I don't even go in the door. I just stand outside the bathroom door and I'm like, "You need anything in there?" Let me know if there's something I can do.
It's not like, oh, a little bit like closer, please.
Oh.
No, there are definite perks. So yeah, it kind of just rolled through all the kids, and it must have been a pretty basic stomach bug that Matt or I didn't get it, but it worked its way through the kids. So, but it was just a 24-hour thing, but when it just hits each one in turn, like this still adds up
Right.
as far as days. So most of the week felt like a wash. We started Monday just fine. So it was middle of the night Monday that it started. And by Friday, I think Thursday night was the last of it. So then we had all day Monday, and then kind of Friday, we watched a history lesson. We did a tiny bit of catch up, just what we could do, but it was still very, very minimal week last week.
Yeah. And sometimes that's something that you have to do,
Yep.
to because you have no other choice. You can't. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, we had a good week. I think we have fallen off the deep end. I don't think we're ever going to get back to what we were before we were sick.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't know if it's because I know that I'm about to leave, so I made them, well, I still haven't, like, fully finished them and printed them out, but I've got the "we need to be done" list,
Mm-hmm.
um, ready to go, and so I'm gonna do those for them, and we've actually started working on the things on that list, even though I haven't got them finished and printed, but we're also like, so for example, it's Lent started last week. And so, of course, we went to Mass Wednesday morning for Ash Wednesday, which is great. But it's like, okay, there goes your Wednesday school day. We did get some other stuff done. And then our parish is having the Lenten mission. So basically, it's like well, I grew up Southern Baptist. So it's kind of like a revival without all the excitement. But you go to church for a few days during the week. I don't know, do Presbyterians have revivals? Yeah, so you go to church for a few days during the week, and they have a special speaker come in, and they get you it's much more like in like, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, cerebral, so it was a really good
Intellectual.
talk.
A
Yeah.
conference. Presbyterians
Yes.
have conferences.
Almost like that. So anyway, Olivia wanted to go because the visiting priest is he was here as a seminarian a couple of summers ago. So young guy, somebody that went to camp with him that summer and things like that, and worked with the youth all summer long. So she was really excited. She wanted to go, but she has to work at night, and so we have like to go, we have to go in the morning. And so it's like, okay, well, I think what we're going to do is like, we're just going to unschool this month, right? Like we're going in the morning to church, we're doing the church thing, and we're doing the little mission afterwards. So it's very educational. It was all about Lent and Exodus this morning. And then she's going to Civil Air Patrol tonight. She did math tutoring this afternoon, and she did a little bit of writing. And I'm like, that's a great school day.
Sure.
You
Yep.
know, that's
Well,
a great school day.
that's where having that math tutor appointment is really the lifesaver there, because that means that math is still happening. And it seems like that's always the one. It's like, you just got to keep that math going.
Yeah. 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 So the boys and I did, we did a writing lesson, and they did some other things on their own. And Thomas has Civil Air Patrol tonight. And, tomorrow will be kind of disjointed as well, but it's completely and totally worthy. And I have to sometimes remind myself that this is the reason why we homeschool. You have a bunch of kids who are in school today. They didn't get to go to the mission this morning. Will they get to go tonight? I don't know. They probably have dance practice or baseball or something after school, or
Homework.
lots of homework. Yeah, they may
Mhm.
not be able to fit it in. And so this is absolutely something that, my kids got to experience and got to do because we homeschool, and it's really, really valid. And there were sweet little old ladies there, and she got to hug their necks and talk to them, and so it's good.
It is
It's
good.
really good. Yeah. Yeah, very much so. So, but sometimes I have to remind myself, like, it's okay. It's okay that that's the thing that we're
Mhm.
doing right now.
Mhm.
Um, so it's good. It's good to have that reminder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Teaching them to live a full life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So maybe when they're, 20, 30, 40, going to the parish mission is something that they see the value in and still continue to do.
Mhm.
So yeah, very much so. So anyway, that's us, and it's not getting better this week. And so my goal is just to get those lists made so that I can, leave them with those lists before I go. And
Mhm.
then of course some of the kids are going to some of the conferences with me. So that's a whole other level of education
Yeah.
as well. Lots of not only fun things, but helping and they're never required to help, but they always can volunteer to help, and a lot of times they do. And just talking to people, seeing the world,
Mhm.
so it's good.
Yeah. Which conference comes first? You're about to do GHC. GHC is about to start, right? That was
Yep.
we're going to talk today about school
Yes.
conferences. So
Homeschool conferences, going to the convention. Yeah, exactly. So the Great Homeschool Convention is the first ones I'm doing this year. I guess everything else is smaller because Paideia Northwest will be in November, and how would you like compare?
oh, I went to the Cincinnati Great Homeschool Convention. What was that, in 2018, I think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, whoa, that was that was a lot of people. It was a
Yeah.
big area, and the vendor hall was like everything you could think of and more. It was huge. And Paideia Northwest is more that conference feel
Okay.
rather than convention big.
Okay.
They have like 7 vendors, 6 or 7, and only 2 of them actually have curriculum. It's more like some were jewelry or just kind of fun stuff. And then there are about 250 to 300 people
Oh,
that
that's still
attend.
a great crowd,
Oh
though.
yeah, it's like, I think it's the perfect size. My
Yeah.
introvert self says, "Oh, it's like just right."
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the few things in the Pacific Northwest, too.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So such a great opportunity there. So doing that in November, um, and then but starting GHC this next month. So we're going to start in South Carolina. We always start, I won't say always, but most of the time we start the season in Greenville, South Carolina. And then we're coming home for like one day. And then heading back out to Missouri. I could come home for 2 days, but I take 2 days to drive to Missouri because I can stay at my mom's house on the way. So we'll head out to Missouri and do that one. And then we've got a break before we do Cincinnati in April. So yeah, so excited for that. And now Misty has been to one great homeschool convention, and then she's spoken at Paideia Northwest a number of times. I actually attended the great homeschool convention for 7 years
Oh,
before I started speaking.
nice.
Yeah.
That
So
was the first time you guys made me get on a stage. Was
yes.
that GHC? I remember walking in the room and like seeing like that's a stage with a microphone and that's a lot of chairs. What am I doing?
Because we were in the ballroom. Yeah, we were on the big stage. Yeah. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. But I do really think that the homeschool convention is just so worthwhile to attend. I think it's a great thing. I think, if you're like Misty, if you live in an area of the country, I mean, we have people come from all over. I mean, typically we have people from Canada. We'll be in Texas and somebody will say, "Oh, I flew down from Michigan or from Minnesota." And I'm like, "You realize that we have other ones that are closer, right?" And they're like, "No, I wanted to come to this one." So there are people who fly all over the country to come to the convention, but I do think it's worthwhile to go to at least once. And if it's something that you end up loving, even multiple times. I mean,
Mhm.
I got something out of it every single time I went. So what was your favorite part, Misty?
I think my favorite part was going to the talks, like being in person with some of those people that I had heard recordings of talks for years
Yeah.
and years and years. I like to just see them present and even be able to talk to them afterwards. That was really cool. And then, the vendor hall is really handy. I could see where it's overwhelming because there's
Right.
a lot there. But on the other hand, if you kind of already know, like, I think I'm interested in this curriculum, it's probably there.
Yeah.
And then you can flip through it. So there were several vendors where it's like, oh, I've heard of you, but I'm really curious to actually see what it looks like. And you can do that there. So um, if you're looking for a new curriculum or thinking about switching or just getting started, just going in to get information. I know this is probably not what any of the vendors want you to do, but I would say like just go to just look and don't make a decision right there.
Vendors do like to make a little bit of money at the convention. But they don't want you to make a knee-jerk decision and then end up regretting it later. Because here's the deal. If you purchase something from, let's just pick on like IEW or Matthew C or anybody like that, we'll just be equal opportunity pickers. And you take it home and don't use it, well, then that's not really helping them either because you're not going to be a repeat customer. You're not going to tell other people about it. You're not going to talk
Mhm.
about how wonderful it is. So, one of the things that I have found from the years of doing this is that vendors really, really want you to be happy with your decision, and use it. And so they're going to spend the time they need to talk to you and really help you figure out how to use something
Yeah.
because they do want you to be satisfied with that purchase.
Yeah. I
So
think like
yeah,
most of the vendors had someone there who was um, very helpful in saying, well,
yeah,
this is how we use it, or what do listening to what you're thinking and what you're needing and making a smart recommendation. So,
yeah. And helping you adjust it too. I think this is
yeah.
one of the best places to go and say, my kid it struggles with this, or, my kid just flies through this, and hear what the vendor says, because a lot of times the person selling, the vendor, is also the curriculum developer.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, like, I just can't tell you how many times mom said, "Oh, yeah, I was over here talking to them and they told me to use it like this. And I had never thought about that before," because we get so narrow minded in curriculum
The
thinking,
right way.
you're right, it's written like this. So we have to use it like this. And like 9 out of 10 curriculum developers will say, no, 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 this is what you need to do. This is how you flex it. This is how you make it different. And I think it's so freeing hearing that coming from the person who wrote the curriculum. So a couple things about overwhelm, if I can give a couple tips.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are the person, like some people walk into the vending hall and they're like kid in a candy store. Like that's totally me, right? I was like, there's no overwhelm here. It's just like, ooh, I want to see all the things. But having said that, I got more at peace with what was going on when I did a couple of things. Number one, when I wrote my homeschool vision. So I really thought about what I wanted education to be in my home, what I wanted the atmosphere of my home to be like. And then there just became this whole list of vendors who I'm sure are very great people,
Mm-hmm.
but their stuff doesn't fit my vision for homeschooling. And so I could walk right by without even feeling the need to stop. Just say hello, and just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, really helpful. And then the second thing I would do is I would set an amount. So I learned this early on where I spent large amounts of money on something thinking that was because sometimes it's just easier to spend money than it is to really solve a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We've all been there. We've all done that. And so like I had an amount, like this is my limit. I'm not allowed to spend more than this to try to solve a problem. And so, you've got to like go back and ask yourself, this is not the purchase to make it the convention.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really was freeing too, because then I wasn't under pressure. It's better to spend $50 more on something and be sure than to knee jerk buy something in the moment and never use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a tip, but I do think that flying with only a carry-on was also a good strategy. So I could just go through and say, well, I'm looking, do you have a website? Because I have to be able to lift my luggage, which was already pretty full, up over my head into the cargo space. And so I keep buying more books.
The only sad thing is that most vendors will now ship to you, so you don't have to carry the books home. Most of them don't even have the stuff there. They ship it for free, which is a whole other thing. Like it's great for me because I need the next level of Matthew C for Thomas. He's just about to finish his book. And I'm like, I'll get it at the convention and they'll send it. He's like, can't you bring it home? I'm like, no, they don't have it there. They're just going to ship it. But I know that some people are like, I want to take the stuff home with me, So you have to find the ones who actually do have it there for you to take home. So, yep. Any other tips for navigating the convention other than like mapping out your plan ahead of time? I think that's so big. And we actually have on the website, I actually have a set of convention planning forms that it's like 4 or 5 different forms that you can print out and fill out ahead of time and take with you that will help you to make a plan for your homeschool convention experience. So I'll put the link to that down in the description and in the show notes.
I think a final tip that I would say is that to take advantage of being in a crowd of other homeschool moms and
dads.
And dads. Yeah, there were whole families there. Yeah. But if you are looking for homeschool encouragement, I think you're just as likely to find that encouragement from the average mom sitting next to you at one of those talks than from the speakers. And so just introduce yourself to the people that you're standing in line with or that you're sitting next to. And you never know what kind of connections and help and encouragement and advice you're going to get just from talking to the other people that are there.
Yeah. And this is coming from 2 pretty strong introverts too. So if you need an opening line, you could turn to the person next to you and say, do you ever listen to the Homeschool Teachers Lounge? It's like my favorite homeschool podcast.
Yes.
That's a great conversation starter right there. Because if they do, you have something to talk about. And if they don't, then you can share all about it with them. And it gives you homeschool podcast. You can just open up that can of worms and talk about it.
I love it. That's a great piece of advice there for icebreaker.
There you go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, I don't start traveling until next Wednesday. So I will be back next Monday. And Misty, you're going to be here too, right?
I
You
am.
better.
I'll be here.
Awesome. Well, we're going to put the link to the homeschool convention materials for you so you can go and find those. And if you haven't considered coming to a convention, it is not too late to get your tickets for South Carolina or Missouri. And then after that, we have Cincinnati. And then in June, Ontario, California, which is our West Coast conference. And then in July, we go to Round Rock, Texas. So lots and lots of fun, 5 big conventions this year, and we're super excited about all of them. So,
Nice.
all right, Misty, you have a good school week.
All right, you too.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you guys later.